guys, and welcome back to my channel. So a couple of weeks ago, I purchased a car through Carvana, and I wanted to do a video talking about my experience and the pros and the cons to buying a car sight unseen. Basically, you do get to see pictures, but you don't get to test drive or even see your car in person until it arrives at the door. So it's definitely an interesting and more modern experience. The reason that I wanted to do it is because I just didn't want to go to the car dealership and haggle prices and be there all day and have to do all this paperwork there. That has been my experience in the past purchasing and leasing cars. I feel like you're there all day, and I just wanted to pick out a car online and have it show up. And that is exactly the customer that a company like Carvana is marketing to. So I just wanted to give it a try. One of the big reasons why I felt more comfortable doing this is because the car that I wanted is a car that I've driven a lot. So it's the same car that my mom has. And so I didn't feel like I needed to test drive the car to know that I liked the car. If you are unsure about which car you want in the first place, I definitely recommend going to the actual dealerships where you can test drive everything. But if you already know the exact car you want, like I did, I feel like this is a really nice and easy way to get your car. I'm gonna go through my entire experience, starting with how I actually selected my car and then going through all of the paperwork, the financing, the decisions that you have to make, and then showing the car arriving. I do have a little bit of footage of when it showed up literally in front of my house. I'm gonna do a little mini car tour. This is gonna be a really fun video, but before we get started, I do wanna thank the sponsor of today's video, which is not Carvana. This is not sponsored by Carvana, but it is sponsored by another brand that I feel like helps make my life easier, just like Carvana does. You know, I selected Carvana because it was an easier process. This helps cooking my meals be easier, and it is HelloFresh, one of my favorite sponsors. You can go to HelloFresh.com and use the code Fowler14 for 14 free meals, including free shipping. James and I cooked burgers the other day. They were the most upscale, amazing Gouda cheese burgers. Oh, they were so good. I would eat it in every single box if I could. And I say that about a lot of their meals, and I just feel like they're so much better than what I can cook on my own. I'm not a very good cook, so that's not saying too much, but I don't know, it just really expands the meals that I'm able to prepare. Starting this month, HelloFresh is launching their Taste of Summer series with everything from delicious grilled main dishes to farm fresh sides. And my favorite part of this is that each dish is designed to maximize the flavors while minimizing oven use, which is incredibly important right now because it's so freaking hot outside, and anything you can do to minimize oven use is a good thing. If you're trying to get your summer body, HelloFresh makes it easy by giving low-cal, carb-smart, vegetarian, and pescatarian options every single week. If you want to start cooking some new and delicious meals this summer, you can go to HelloFresh.com and use the code LFowler14 for 14 free meals, including free shipping. That is a great deal. Take advantage of that this summer. Get you some of those oven-minimizing grilled special summer dishes. I'm really looking forward to those. Thank you so much, HelloFresh, for sponsoring another video of mine and making my life a little bit easier, just like the service I used to purchase my car. So let's get back into the car story. Okay, so I had been thinking about getting a car for a long time, probably ever since we first moved to Nashville. My last car was a leased car, and it was when we were still living in LA. It was a Porsche Boxster, a cute little two-seater sports car. I loved that car. When the lease was up for that car after 3 years, I decided not to renew it and not to get another car right away, because at the time I was living in the middle of LA and I was living with Alex, and I was working from home. I wasn't really going very many places, and the places that I was going, I was usually going with Alex or with Blair, or I could get an Uber. So I never felt like I was without a car when I didn't have it. And then even when we moved to Orange County, I still didn't get a new car because, again, I was always going somewhere with either Blair or Alex, or on the few times I wanted to go somewhere by myself, I would just Uber or take Alex's car. It just was never an issue. Ever since moving to Tennessee, I've been thinking about getting one, and there are Ubers here, of course. They aren't nearly as plentiful as the Uber situation living in LA, but it hasn't really bothered me, and I probably wouldn't have even needed to get a car even now if I wasn't a mom. I do feel like it's very important to have access to an immediate car when you have a kid, and whenever Alex leaves to go to work, because he did recently move into an out-of-house music studio, like for his work, not like living there, but to do his work during the day, he takes our one car. And so I just felt like we needed a second car at that point. So we had been thinking about it, talking about it for a while. I knew that I wanted an Audi Q5 because that is what my mom has. I love the size of it. I love driving it. I felt like it was the perfect size increase for me. I've only ever had two-seater cars and then sedan cars, like smaller cars, and I knew that I wanted something a little bit bigger as my mom car, but I wasn't ready to go like full-size SUV yet. And so it was just that nice middle ground car. My mom has loved hers. It has really good reviews online. I knew that that is the car I wanted, and I knew that I ideally wanted it to be in white. I've never had a white car. I've always had black cars, and then my little sports car was silver. But I feel like it's just so hot here. I have no desire for a black car, and Alex's car is black and it's so hot. So one night, after probably the first annoying moment we had where I needed to take James to a doctor's appointment and Alex needed to go to work for something, and we had just the one car, and I was like, you know, this doesn't even make sense. Like, why are we living as a one-car family right now? Like, it used to make sense, it doesn't anymore. So I went online and I just searched for a used Audi Q5, and the Carvana listings popped up first. So I had seen ads about Carvana. I've seen the big vending machines. They had them in LA and they have them here too. And I had never thought to myself like, I'm gonna try to buy a car through Carvana. It just so happens that when I looked up the car that I wanted, the ads for the Carvana cars that were available came up as one of the first options. And so that is what kind of got me starting to look into it. I found one right away without even really looking hard. It was like the first one that popped up that I felt like was a good price. It looked nice inside, and that's what got me seriously thinking about it. So the first thing I did is I called my mom and I asked her for the details on her car and how much she paid. I know that she had done a lot of research in like what a good price would be for a used car and all of that. So I kind of took what she paid as my like good price to aim for. I did know that I would probably get a car a couple years newer than hers because she has had hers for a few years. And so I was thinking it would probably be a little bit more than what she had paid, but I used that in the mileage that she had on when she purchased her car as kind of my baseline. And then I went over to Kelley Blue Book and I looked up to make sure that the price and mileage for that car that year was a good deal, and it was. And then the last thing I did is I went to CarMax.com and I looked up comparable cars. My parents had purchased cars from CarMax before. They are big fans. Actually, the one that my mom had purchased was from CarMax. And so I went to see like what other places basically were charging for the same year and similar mileage. And I realized that it was a good deal. That particular car I ended up not getting because this is gonna sound really superficial, but the interior was called pistachio cream, and it was kind of like a green tinged cream, and I just didn't really like it. So that was literally the only reason why I didn't get that specific car, but they had so many white Audi Q5s available. I looked through all of their offerings and there wasn't a single one that had like every single thing in my mind perfect. Like the coloring was perfect, the interior was perfect, the year and the mileage and the price was good. And so I ended up closing my computer down. I slept on it, I thought about it, I posted on Instagram and asked people for their experiences, if anyone had purchased through them, if they would do it again, if they recommend it. And I would say 98% of the feedback was really, really positive. There were a couple people who said that they had traded in their car to Carvana. So Carvana had bought their car, not the other way around. And that they felt like Carvana didn't look over their car very closely before giving them the money, which they literally said in their DM that that was a good thing for them, but like not so good. They don't know if they trust Carvana on the purchasing side, like buying a car from them, because they didn't feel like they really looked it over very well. And I had 2 or 3 different people tell me a very similar story to that. So that worried me a little bit, but the overwhelming feedback was really, really positive. And I felt like I'm just gonna go online and I'm gonna look one more time and see if any new options have come up since yesterday. And there was a car car that was my perfect little combination of what I wanted. It's a 2018, so it's a few years old. The mileage was really low, it was in the 20,000s. And the interior was a cream leather, the exterior was white, it had the sports package, the premium package, like it was the perfect car. It was the car that I wanted. And when you pick out your car, you can see pictures of the exterior and the interior, and they actually will show you close-up pictures of any imperfections on the car. So if there are any like scratches or little like dings on the car, they'll have close-up pictures of it that you can see, but you're not seeing the car in person. And so depending on what kind of car you're getting, depending on the budget, if you're getting a car that's a lot older, that is much less expensive, that has a lot more problems, I think I'd be a little bit more hesitant to purchase it through them, just because you do have a 7-day return policy, which I will get into. Once the car arrives, you can say no for any reason, no questions asked, for a full refund. But I knew that I didn't want to deal with returning it unless like something horrible happened. So I feel like if I wasn't really comfortable with the pictures and the imperfections listed, I wouldn't have gone the route of buying a car basically sight unseen in person. So because this car was a little bit newer and had a little bit lower mileage than the original car, I had looked up all the prices. I went ahead and did another little cross check of pricing. I called my mom, I looked at CarMax, I looked at Kelley Blue Book, I looked online at the Audi pre-certified cars, and just made sure that I felt like the price was fair, and I did. And so I went ahead and moved forward with purchasing it. So right away, when you hit the like, I want to buy this car button, you are given an hour. I think it's an hour. It might be 40 minutes. I think it's an hour. You're given a time basically where the car is held in order for you to complete your checking out process, because it is a little bit more detailed than, you know, buying like a purse online or like a lipstick, because you are buying a car. There's financing involved more than likely. There is a place where you can put if you have like a trade-in car that you want to trade in. We didn't have a car we were trading in, so it was just strictly a purchase. Oh, another cool thing that I forgot to mention is before you hit like, I want to buy this car, they have this really cool like financial slider that you can say like, they did some sort of quick credit check for me. I honestly don't remember how it worked. I put in some quick information about myself, and then they kind of gave me like what my interest rate would be, like loosely, and then you could put in like, if I put this much money down, my monthly payments for this many months would be this. If I wanted to do longer months, it would be this. If I wanted to put less down, it would be this. Like, it was kind of cool. So Alex and I played with the slider for a long time before deciding how long we wanted to do. We ended up doing a 36-month loan. You could do anything from 12 to 72 or 96. I can't remember. We did 36, and then we decided to put a third of the payment down, and then we saw like what our monthly payments would be for the 36 months. So it seemed really straightforward. I did get a couple of comments on Instagram saying that they felt their in-house financing gave higher interest rates than they got going elsewhere. But then I got some other messages saying that the pricing was comparable. So I went ahead and like saw what they were going to offer me, and then I went to my bank and saw what they were going to offer me, and it was pretty comparable. So I just went with their in-house financing. I felt like it was just easier, and it was all under one roof. One thing is there is no negotiations with the price as far as I'm aware. There was nowhere to haggle the price. What you see is what you get. The whole point of it is that they offer you the lowest point, like at a car dealership, basically the price that they would be able to negotiate down to, they go ahead and give you. And yes, I feel like depending on the car dealership you go to, maybe you could haggle for a better price, but the convenience of this service makes up for it. In my mind, at least, it was a fair price based on what I was seeing elsewhere. And I didn't feel the need to like haggle a lot of money off of it. I don't like haggling. I don't like negotiating. It's not in my personality. And I feel like Carvana was literally made for stay-at-home moms like me that just don't want to go deal with the car dealership and negotiating and haggling and just want their car to show up. Like, it was a very millennial experience. I really loved it. So during checkout, I filled out a bunch of paperwork. They made it really easy. It was basically like a DocuSign for the contracts where they just had you like sign electronically on a couple of things and then you were done. It was really easy, especially doing the in-house financing. I completed everything in well under the amount of time that they gave me to like hold the car. And then it was done. It was really, really easy. There were a couple of steps that you had to do. We did have to show proof of money for the down payment. Like they had to have access to our bank account so that they could see that we actually had the money that we were saying we would put down, like in cash in the bank. That was really standard. It linked through like a really secure system. It didn't feel shady at all. I think I had to scan pictures of my driver's license and proof of residency as well, because they are dropping it off at your house. They want to make sure you live there. And then they did also offer in-house warranties on the product. So my car, I think every car comes with a 100-day Carvana warranty, but then they offered extended warranties if you wanted to buy packages where you like increased your payments every month and then they cover certain things. I ended up not doing that. I figured I would probably take my car to the local Audi dealership if it has any issues. I didn't like that with their warranty you had to go to like their certain partnered car fix places. The only thing that was annoying to me in the entire checking out process was that I had to submit several pieces of paperwork proving my residency, because Alex's name was on all of our bills. They wanted you to show some sort of bill, and it was all Alex's name. So I tried to put one in and then they didn't accept it. And then I ended up putting like a medical bill that had come to our house that was from like one of my pregnancy issues. And they said it was out of date. And then it was just like kind of a nightmare. And I felt like it wasn't super important to the whole process. Like, I don't know, that annoyed me, because a lot of couples, I feel like, will have one person be on the majority of the bills. And that just kind of annoyed me, but that's a small thing. So after that, I think someone on their end like reviews all of your paperwork, make sure that they have everything, make sure that you're approved financially and all this stuff. And then you get to set a time for your car to arrive. And so for me, it was like 5 days later, I think, or something. It was really quick. I ordered it on one of the weekdays and it showed up on Saturday. And the guy brought it right up to the front of my house and unloaded it. It was such a quick process. By the time the car arrives, you've done all your paperwork. You only have to sign like 1 or 2 pieces of paper in person when they arrive, and then the car is yours. Like, it's so easy. The guy was there for all of probably 10 minutes, and most of it was unloading the car from his like truck that he had brought it in on. You do have 7 days from the day that the car arrives to return it, no questions asked, full refund. And in that 7 days, I did something that I highly recommend people do. I do think a lot of people are gonna think that this is an unnecessary fee on top of everything else. It did end up costing like $400, but I decided to take my car to Audi and tell them, like, I just bought this used online. Can you guys check over every single thing and make sure that it's functioning perfectly? And they took it for a few hours and they brought it back to me and said it was a beautiful car and that it got like an A+ on everything, that it was perfect inside and out, which was a huge relief, because that's the only thing that kind of concerned me, especially with those DMs from people saying that the Carvana team hadn't looked over their car very much when they were turning it in. I thought, what if there's something wrong with like the brakes or the engine, or something's gonna like go bad in a few months? I just wanted to make sure. That was something that just gave me the peace of mind to know that I wasn't buying like a lemon, that the car was gonna be a good car. That made me really happy to have the Audi team local to me be like, yes, this is a great car, it's a beautiful car. So yeah, I ended up keeping the car, obviously, and I'm very, very happy with it. I love it. I already knew that I would love it based on driving my mom's. I knew that the car itself was something that I was going to be happy with. I like the way it drives. It's the perfect size for me. It's, you know, a little bit bigger with like a car seat being in the back. It's not like a little sedan car, but it's not so big that I feel uncomfortable parking it. And, you know, with bigger SUVs, that is something that I feel a little uncomfortable with. I don't like driving really big cars. It did arrive with its license plates and a temporary registration, and the registration process didn't start until after your 7 days to make sure that you weren't going to return the car. You know, they didn't start registering it in your name. My registration process has been delayed a few times. They say it's due to COVID, which makes sense. They've been keeping me in the loop and sending me many emails explaining that they're very sorry that it's taking so long. But I have, I think, one more week before my temporary registration is going to be expired. And so in the latest email, which came just a couple of days ago, they said that if it was going to be delayed more, they'd get me an extended temporary registration. So I'm not worried about it. I love that they're handling it, that I'm not having to do all of that right now, because it kind of seems like it's an annoying issue with COVID right now, just everything being really backed up. I did have one thing annoy me, and I would say that this is probably the biggest con to purchasing through Carvana. It is a small thing in the scheme of things, but it did bother me. And that was when the car first arrived, the oil light was on. It needed an oil change. And that just annoyed me a little bit, because I feel like if you were at a dealership, it would be such an easy thing to just be like, yes, I want this car, but the oil has to be changed first. Like, they wouldn't even question it, you know? And so that annoyed me, because it was something that I was gonna have to get taken care of. Now, they did offer to pay for it, but I was gonna have to go through their people in order to do it, and you did only have that 7-day window in order to do it. I already had the appointment to take the car into the Audi dealership, so I just had them do it, and that was part of the price that I named earlier for like the whole day of what they did to the car. But that was just something small that kind of felt like it made the process feel a little bit less special, because I felt like I was receiving a car that had what kind of seems to be a very easy fix. Like, I feel like someone should have fixed that before bringing me the car. I mean, is it possible that the oil light went off literally as the guy was driving the car to the truck? Yes, maybe. But that just seemed like an easy thing that should have been fixed before the car was brought to me. But also, I know that's super first world problems. Like, it's fine. The car went to the dealership and got its oil changed. Everything's good. I hope that that doesn't come across super complainy, but it was just one of those little things that was like, this is a con of not getting it at the dealership. Like, you might have a car show up with like some minor issues. I hope that that doesn't come across as like super like bratty to be annoyed over that, because they did offer to pay for it and all of that. So I don't know. I just wanted to bring it up because it was something that surprised me. I feel like if you were at a dealership, you wouldn't be sent home with a car that had its oil light on. I just wanted to answer a couple of questions that came in over Instagram. Most of the questions that came in, I've already addressed. A lot of them were over whether there was a return policy, how simple is the process, stuff like that. But one question I thought was cool is, how is your level of trust in the company in the beginning versus now? So I actually trust the company a whole lot more now than I did in the beginning. I was pretty skeptical. I did a lot of research. I read reviews. I asked Instagram for their reviews, and I still was hesitant enough that I wanted to send my car to the dealership for like a full checkup, which I feel like a lot of people probably don't do. But because my car came back so perfect, like, I am really pleased with my entire experience, even the oil thing. Like, it's a small thing in the scheme of everything else. Someone else said, can you explain American car culture? I'm a 35-year-old European who's never owned a car. Unless you live in New York City, maybe Chicago, like, you need a car in America. I'm sure there are other cities that have, you know, high walkability scores, but even living in LA, if you didn't have a car, you were going to be Ubering a lot, which again, I didn't really go very many places without either Alex or Blair. So Ubering was fine for me, but living in the suburbs in Tennessee, like, you need a car because you live far away from everything. And there isn't really good public transportation in most cities. I know some cities like New York has the subway, that's great. But a lot of cities don't have like really safe, nice public transportation. Like, most people need cars. Last question is, did you ever get to speak with a human for questions? No, but you could if you wanted to. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I did everything online and over email. The only person I talked to in person was the guy who delivered the car. Again, that was a choice. You can ask questions. You can go through a lot of the steps, I think, over the phone with someone, but I saw it as a benefit to be able to just do everything online. Okay, so let's go downstairs and I will show you the car. And overall, my experience was very positive. I did tell you the two things that annoyed me, the oil and the proof of residency paperwork. Those were so small in the scheme of things. I would definitely recommend using them. I would purchase through them again. I was very happy overall and I love my car. So let's go see her. Here she is, guys. Look how pretty. Ah, I love it. I'll show you a quick peek of inside. In the back, I just have James's car seat. I need to get some like organizational type goodies for here. I do have an iPhone charger, that's about it. So yeah, that is the new car. She's beautiful. So that is everything. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much, HelloFresh, for sponsoring another video. I really appreciate it. I hope this video was useful to some of you. Maybe it swayed your opinion on whether you want to try Carvana for your next car purchase. I'm very happy with it. So yeah, I will see you guys in my next video. Goodbye.